Salute, people, man. What's good with it? What's good with it? Let me turn up the mic a little bit. It's a little bit, not too much. What's good with the Black Goose family? We back in here. We back with this thing. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Fluence Boxing, baby. Episode 2. What we talking about? Y'all see it on the motherfucking screen. Teofimo Lopez. Who is he going to be fighting next? What's the rumors going on in the boxing community? What are they saying? Let's try and decipher what's truth, what isn't. Let's get an idea what's going on. Salute to the people, man. If y'all watching this and you aren't part of the family, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button. Join the motherfucking Black Goose family. Excuse me. Also, if you're here, man, hit the like button. Like buttons help. But like I said, man, on episode 1, we building this from the ground up. So it's like we starting brand new. So salute to everybody who's rocking with me here. You know what I'm saying? We talking some real shit today. So let me make sure the sound is good as always. Sounds good, baby. Everything sounds good, man. So salute to that. I'm gonna turn me up just a little bit, not too much, so I'm not blasting out y'all ears. You know what I'm saying? It's got a little something in my. Damn, I got like a little something in my cup. It's all good. I didn't clean it good enough. I didn't clean the cup good enough. I didn't. Still drink it. By the way, that's apple juice. Anyways, what's good with the people, man? We here, we rocking. Anybody who's gonna be up in here, man, salute. So, we talking about Teofimo Lopez, man. We talking about Teofimo Lopez up in this joint. Let me turn this down just a little bit. So, as we know, you know what I'm saying, in my opinion, one of the greatest years in boxing has been ended in 2020. We're in 2021. The reason why I think it was one of the greatest years in my opinion, personally, was just because we saw a lot of fighters have matchups that were, we could consider as boxing fans, close enough in talent, or there was enough of a question mark depending on who is better than who, or stylistically, you know what I'm saying? You're looking at it from that standpoint. You're saying this may be a hard test for this person. So it made us more in tune. It made it, at least me, it made me, a lot more excited for what we got in the future for boxing. Obviously, the only reason that happened was because of the whole COVID situation. So, it's a double-edged sword because, COVID ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people went through a lot of hard things through it, still are dealing with a lot of hard things with it. You know what I'm saying? It's far from gone, but, what ended up happening is we saw boxing make some shifts and be like, hey, we got to put on, more favorable matchups. We got to see our superstars fighting more favorable competition, or I should be like more aggressive competition, or most closer in comparison to talented competition, simply because of the fact, they had to make up the revenue that's going to be lost from the gate. So, we saw all the young guns in 135 fight in 2021. You know what I'm saying? The superstars, the future superstars of the sport, supposedly. We saw Gervonta Davis do what he did against Leo Santa Cruz. We saw Teofimo Lopez shock the world against Lomachenko. You know what I'm saying? We saw a future probably 135, but I don't like putting Shakir in there because Shakir's still young. I don't think he's going to be at the 135 division. At the same time, all these 135ers are here now, like conquering. Like I think when Shakir comes up to 135, it's going to be a whole new division, a whole new smoke, all that good stuff. So let's take him out of it. But we had Tefimo, Gervonta, then of course we had Devin Haney fight Gamboa, and then to top off the year we had Garcia with amazing W against Campbell. So now it's like, what's next for the 135 division, and the biggest thing is really what's next for 2021 when it comes to boxing, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? You can't treat us to all these big fights, you know what I'm saying, and then ultimately the next year give us some bullshit. Like, let's keep it going. Let's keep this going. Let's keep the swag going. That's what I'm trying to see. Hey, man, what's good with it, Lost Ones? Man, I ain't seen you in a minute, dog. How you been, dog? How life been? And damn, man, how this COVID been treating you, man? How you been able to maneuver through all that? But so far right now, you know what I'm saying, one of the biggest things, one of the biggest questions when it comes to Teofimo Lopez and his next matchup obviously involves Loma. Now, I've said it myself. Like, I honestly think Loma is going to end up getting that rematch with Teofimo. I just think Loma has too much power in boxing for him not to get that rematch. And then also there's just too much money to be made, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to Teofimo versus Loma. Now, the only way you know what I'm saying? The only way, obviously, that's not the case is if Loma versus Tefimo didn't do as good as numbers as people hope. Last one, they got enough guys at the weight. I heard we will at least get Lopez and Haney. So that's what we're going to talk about right now. So it is rumored that Teofimo Lopez is supposed to be. There's a possibility he's fighting Devin Haney next. Now, obviously, there's been some back a little bit of information that came out that maybe makes you a little bit more concerned about the whole situation because you not know who he's fighting. As you can see here, the first article I got up is the IBF ordered Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos Jr. Now, that's a hell of a fight right there. George Kambosos Jr. is a guy. He's a beast. If you don't know about him, I'm going to pull up some of his Instagram stuff so you can see it. Last one said, we just went to another hard lockdown. Government don't know what they're doing. Damn, y'all went into another hard lockdown over there? But let's keep it boxing. Facts, no doubt. That's crazy, though. That's crazy, man. Salute to y'all. Hopefully everything's good. We're not in a hard lockdown over here. In some states we are, but where I'm at, it's pretty leisure. But so IBF ordered Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos Jr. That was on January 9th, so that was 2 days ago. All right, and then obviously everyone was hoping for the Teofimo. I won't say everybody, but a lot of people on Loma's side, especially how many fans Loma has, they were hoping that Loma would get that rematch. Teofimo stated right off the bat. He's like, nah, I don't think he deserves a shot. He wouldn't have gave me a shot if I would have lied, so I don't see the point. Unfortunately, boxing don't work like that, right? Tefimo is technically, he's under the same umbrella as Loma when it comes to, top ranked Bob Arum. I'm pretty sure I don't think Tefimo's signed by Bob Arum, but obviously he's under the same umbrella where all of his fights are going to be broadcast through ESPN and Top Rank. So Loma has a very good chance of getting that rematch, even though nobody wants to make it seem like he does, just because Teofimo's saying he won't fight him. If that contract is on the table and that's the most money, it wouldn't make sense for him not to take it. So I think that's really more so leverage. That's him kind of like flexing his muscles. Like, yo, I just beat Loma. If I want to rematch with him, it's on my terms. I say it is. So if it does end up happening, I think prior to it, we'll hear Teofimo kind of start hinting at it, leading, being like, you know what, I decided I want Loma, or I'm thinking about Loma, blah, blah, blah. But as of now, Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos Jr., that's what the IBF ordered 2 days ago. Now, this is from today right here. Teofimo Lopez to send contracts to Devin Haney and George Kambosos for April-May fight. So this is from a report today. This goes on what last one was saying, where, Teofimo Lopez might be fighting Devin Haney next. He sent on the contract to Haney and George Kambosos, and then we can't forget that rematch, that contract is still on the table when it comes to Loma. Even though Teofimo's saying he's not giving it to him and no one's really talking about it, the reason why he's saying he's not giving it to him is because there got to be a contract, or there has to be something laid out where it's like, look, all you got to say, agree to this rematch, and we can make it happen. So let's not act like Loma's not on the table still for Teofimo, because he is. But right now, Tefimo, he's flexing his power. He's a young gun. He did something no one expected. So this is the right move. Like, don't let Loma control your future. You got him out of the way. Now it's up to you. And so obviously he's showing George Kambosos Jr. is going to be up in there, obviously, because the IBF ordered it. And then we have Devin Haney that he's sending the contract out to. So the thing about this happening, in my opinion, if the IBF ordered George Kambosos, then obviously he's going to be the front runner, period, because the IBF ordered it. The only way I see Devin Haney coming into play, it's going to have to do with money. The only way Tefimo's probably going to step aside and he's going to fight someone like Devin Haney over George Kambosos, it has to come down to money. He'll have to get more money from George Kambosos. And also remember, if IBF is ordering it from George Kambosos, a lot of the money probably is going to stay in-house. When you're dealing with Devin Haney, you're dealing with Eddie Hearn, you're dealing with Matchroom, okay? But it is confirmed that Teofimo Lopez sent out those contracts. You can see he revealed on social media on Sunday his promoters will be sending contracts out to Devin Haney and George Kambosos Jr. to pick an opponent for his next fight in late April or May, okay? The contracts have not yet been sent out, but they're going to be sent out. This was on Sunday. So obviously probably sometime this week is when they're going to actually send out those contracts. Now, I have reason to believe, or suspicion to believe, that the contracts have already been sent out. Because if you go over to boxingscene.com, this morning, Hearn said himself, Teofimo Lopez wants $10 million for the Haney fight. It's not going to happen. He's not even undisputed. So this is what I was talking about when there was some information that came out, which kind of makes you be like, all right, as much as as much as we saw progress in the boxing, community when it comes to seeing young guns take a step up, we're still at this point where now we're talking about basically all the power or the top power of the 135 division being in a position where either they're gonna literally take a chance where they're not gonna be that guy no more, or they can continue taking top level talent like mandatories or top 5 rankings and continue to avoid the fights that we actually want to see, which is boxing in its finest fashion, right? So that's when I'm interested to see how this 2021 goes, if we're going to be able to stay on course with what we've seen in 2020, or if it's just going to kind of fall back into, we get so goddamn excited for being this close to the big fight, and then of course it doesn't happen, and we got to wait around until, both of them are in the late 30s, like Manny Pacquiao and Floyd. Last one said, if I was Teo, I would go right in for Haney. Just keep it flowing. How will you make more cash with Kambosos and either Loma or Haney? Yeah, I don't see them paying $10 million. There's no. Tefimo will get the most money fighting Devin Haney easily. He's gonna get the most money fighting Devin Haney because Eddie Hearn got a lot of cash. Like if Eddie Hearn feels like we've seen from Eddie Hearn, like if he feels like it's worth it, if he feels like the money is worth putting down, he's gonna put the joint down. I think the only reason Hearn is saying here he wants $10 million for the Haney fight is not going to happen. I think Tefimo can get $10 million. I think he can get $10 million for that Devin Haney fight, but it's too much of a risk for Eddie Hearn. It comes down to his belief in Devin Haney, right? If you really believe Devin Haney is that guy, you would be willing to put that money, because in the long run, that's not only going to make Devin Haney a literal superstar, but now you basically accomplished what you wanted from having Devin Haney come along and be part of Matchroom, which is you just got a young gun from the States, believed in him, put money into him, and now you have a superstar boxer in your stable that's from the United States. He's tapping into that U.S. market. Eddie Hearn has been trying to do that ever since DAZN got off the floor. He's been trying to tap into that U.S. market. They thought AJ was going to do it, obviously, because of the look, but it just hasn't resonated. So Devin Haney is that one guy where he's like, all right, Devin Haney is my chance of tapping into the U.S. market. So it comes down to, do you believe in him enough that he can beat a Teofimo Lopez, and you basically invest in that $10 million? Because if he beats him, it's going to pay off in the long run. But I think a good amount of boxing fans should know, I just don't think that's smart right now, because technically everyone's saying Teofimo should take the fight, but what about Devin Haney? Should Devin Haney take the fight? I don't think so. I don't think that Devin Haney's been proven enough. I think out of all the young guns who fought last year, Devin Haney's opponent was the weakest in Gamboa, not because of his skill, his experience, or his talent, but because he was coming off of that injury and he had a layoff and he's older. You know what I'm saying? So you got kind of like, I'm not saying you got it is what it is, Last one said, it's a level playing field. Everyone is young minus Loma. Facts. Loma's kind of the odd man out. I think TL will beat Haney. I'm honest, but I do really like Haney. I think at this point right now, I think Tefimo does beat Haney. Imagine if TL or Haney wins it, it will put everyone else up on their toes. They'll have to do something or get shut out. Well, I look at it from this perspective. Let me ask you this. How'd you feel about the Ryan Campbell win? Because I actually think the top guy at 135 right now is Tefimo. Not because I'm not talking about negotiating power or anything like that. Like if you want to look at it as numbers, if you just want to look at it as what people are willing to invest and who's being talked about, Gervonta Davis, hands down, he's the most popular at 135. But if you want to look at, in my opinion, if we're talking about just ring-based, I think Teofimo Lopez proved himself the most out of last year out of all these young guys. And then next up was Ryan Garcia. I think Luke Campbell, I don't see anyone else in that stable who fought a caliber of Luke Campbell at the age that Ryan Garcia did. Obviously, Loma is he's the next step, so that's why I got Tefimo top. But I think Ryan Garcia proved himself next. Gervonta beat a very, 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 very good 130 pounder. You know what I'm saying? He didn't beat a 135er. So, I don't think Davis. That's not me doubting Davis's skills. Davis is a beast. It's just at the same. I'm just talking about in the aspect of I would like Davis to get up in there with someone where we look at it and we're like, okay, this is about to be a damn good fight. I like the Luke fight. That was one hell of a body shot. I thought it was a great fight. One, it showed Ryan Garcia has some things to work on. But I think also, if you want to be realistic, everyone's talking about him getting hit with that shot from Luke, right? And they're saying, when you saw that back and forth between him and Ryan Garcia on the Mike Tyson joint, they was basically like, oh, if Gervonta hit him with that shot, he'd be dead, right? And what I like from Ryan Garcia saying, well, you're gonna need a escalator to hit me, because I'm like, it's not gonna be like Luke Campbell is a tall fighter, so he was able to position, and he's a southpaw, so he was able to catch Ryan Garcia simply on the fact that he's punching, like he's not punching up, right? Like Davis, in my opinion, for Davis to catch Ryan Garcia with that is either gonna be an overhand, that would have to be an overhand left hook. Think about that. And that's not that. I ain't never seen Davis run it up like that. Davis's go-tos is that uppercut. You know what I'm saying? And Ryan Garcia, he fights real tall, so it's gonna be hard to get that uppercut off of him. Like Ryan is big for that division, and he's still growing. That's the thing, and people don't talk about this for Davis. Gervonta Davis is the oldest out of everybody. He 26. He about to be 27 this year. So he the oldest, and he's the oldest by years too. Like Tefimo is only 23. Ryan Garcia is 22. Devin Haney is 20 or 21. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's another thing I want to know when it comes to like Floyd too. Like, how long are we gonna wait for Davis to go up in there? You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, if you plan it out right, technically Davis's peak probably won't hit until he's about 28, 29. So think about that. If we wait until Davis hit his peak 28, 29, and now he's fighting against like a 25-year-old Tefimo, or he's fighting against like a 24-year-old Ryan Garcia, that's Davis all day. That's because he's literally going to be a grown man, in there against motherfuckers who's still growing in a sense. But let me go over here real quick. Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos negotiations, very polarizing. Haney could be next. So you can see there's a lot of different sources. If we can get anything from all of these articles, everything, what everybody is saying simply is that the next fight for Lopez is either going to be George Kambosos, is either going to be Devin Haney, or it's going to be Loma. It's going to be between those three. Last one said Davis better start doing something. Davis can't wait. I feel the same way. I'm interested. Like we hear all these reports on who Teofimo may fight next. We're hearing these reports. Devin Haney might be fighting. I think Javier Fortuna next. I believe that's what they're talking about. Is it Fortuna? I'm gonna say Fortuna because he was supposed to fight him last year before Gamboa, but I think he tested positive for COVID or something like that. I may be wrong about that, but that's the rumors coming out there. Ryan Garcia, obviously, there's no one's really talking about who Ryan Garcia is going to fight next because he just got done fighting, but he called out Gervonta himself. So I'm like, we have all these guys who may have a fight next, and Davis is the only one we're speculating who he fights next. And Davis is always the type of dude too, when it comes to how Mayweather seems to handle his promotional side of the game with him. Is let me say this. Mayweather paved the way, right? And then I've seen Canelo copy it the same way when it comes to his opponents, where you'll have a lot of people, you have the media put out opponents for him, but he would never say anything about it. Nothing about it. Like, even when it gets close to it being signed and good to go, Canelo never said anything. Mayweather, that's like a blueprint for Mayweather. So you see Mayweather doing the same thing with Gervonta. You never really hear who Gervonta is fighting or who Gervonta wants to fight from Gervonta. This is the first time, and I think that's why when supposedly Tank, put out that tweet where he accepted the fight with Ryan Garcia, got deleted because I'm pretty sure Floyd was like, nah, man, you the money man, you the guy in charge. He's like, we don't. That's not how we play. I'm like, let all these people call you out because that's keeping your name in the media. That's keeping you as the number one trending, and you ain't even doing nothing. We'll let people know who we pick when it's time. That shows that you have power. You're not chasing nobody. You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of what we're seeing with Davis. Like, we always hear about his opponent maybe like a couple months before it happens, and he doesn't really ever speak on it himself. So I don't think we're going to see Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia this year, but I'm hoping we see a solid opponent for Gervonta. But so let me see real quick why they talking about Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos negotiations are vaporizing. It's from Dan Ambrose from Boxing News 24. Teofimo is reportedly having problems with the negotiation with his IBF mandatory, and he says he's going to look to start talks with WBC champion Devin Haney this week. So, yeah, so no other reason other than that. So basically, there's just rumored that they're having a little trouble, and now they're talking about sending out that contract to Devin Haney, which we already kind of looked at here, where, Tefimo was going to be sending that out to Devin Haney. Now, let's go over real quick to George Kambosos Jr., his Instagram page. He posted this picture with him and Tefimo, mandated and the new. So this was 2 days ago. That's Saturday. This was before they were talking about sending out the contracts. This is before reportedly they were having trouble, actually being able to get something done. This is all allegedly. Teofimo Lopez. So this is proven right now. So this is Kambosos assuming, because he's seen from Boxing Scene, they put that headline out, and so he's like, hell yeah. He's like, finally. But as of today, it's been reported they're having a little bit of trouble getting that through. So the only problem with that game is what happens when someone comes along and is actually calling out big names and making the fights happen. See, and you're right. That, like, doing the Floyd Mayweather, you know what I'm saying, don't really say nothing until nothing comes for Gervonta Davis. That works all the way until, that's who they're talking about. Garcia fighting next, possibly too, is Linares. Linares is a possibility. But that doesn't work all the way up until, you know what I'm saying, like, COVID's in place. So how effective is that if you have guys like Ryan Garcia saying, like, look, I want you, Tank, and if Tank doesn't fight him, outside looking in, especially the type of fans that Ryan Garcia brings to the table, they're going to be looking at Tank as like he's ducking him, you know what I'm saying, which would be crazy. So it is going to be interesting, because I'm like, look, Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos, that's a hell of a fight. And I'm like, at the end of the day, someone's going to have to fight him, right? Someone's going to have to take this fight. And I see Teofimo Lopez probably taking this fight before anybody else. And, like, if you want me to be real, I really think Teofimo's next fight is going to be against. Because I'm like, look, we can't have the young guns fighting too soon. Like, I honestly think if we look at this, I think we're going to see Teofimo versus Kambosos Jr. this year. I think we're going to see Devin Haney versus, I don't think he's going to fight Kami, maybe Fortuna, Javier Fortuna possibly. I think Ryan Garcia versus Linares is the fight to make next for Garcia. And then Loma's kind of the odd man out right now. Like, let's go over to Devin's. And you can see Devin Haney. He's calling for the fight. He wants to fight. You can see how the Devin Haney, though, Ryan Garcia narrative kind of faded away. But if you really look at it, though, Haney and Garcia, they're younger than Tefimo and Davis. So if Garcia dethrones Davis, Haney dethrones Tefimo, like, that's going into the new generation if you think about it, even though they're all young. But I'm just like, if you think about it that way. I think Teo and Kamboa's fight will happen next. I think so, too. I think that's what's going to be next. I just don't think Tefimo versus Devin Haney is the way to go. And I think more so, not for Tevin, I don't think it's more so for Teofimo Lopez. I think it's more so for Devin Haney. We need to see Devin Haney with somebody else, up in there with somebody else, because we only saw him with Gamboa. Do you think one of the younger guys should go after Loma, maybe? Still some of Teo's thunder? See, the thing about doing something like that, in my opinion, is, okay, one, like, just think about this. What if you go in there, you fight Loma, and what if you beat him, but you don't do as good as a job as Teofimo, right? Doesn't do anything for your stock. You beat someone, Teofimo. The only way you steal some of the thunder from Teofimo by fighting Loma is you have to beat him in better fashion. Think about that. So that's a big risk, because if you lose to Loma, you're done. There goes everything. All your build up, what you were trying to do is completely gone. So it's like, it's too big of a risk. I just don't see a reward. Like, after Loma losing to that, if I'm a young gun, I'm staying away from Loma. Loma does nothing to your legacy at this point. I know a lot of people be like, what? What are you talking about? It does nothing for your legacy. You have Loma on your record. As young as these guys are, they have so much time to build their record. I'm like, Loma, like, Tefimo put that away. Like, it's kind of like Haney being Gamboa after Davis beat Gamboa. And after Terrence Crawford already beat Gamboa the way he did, it was kind of, it's like yeah, it's a step up, but it doesn't have the same type of oomph it does like when Terrence Crawford first beat Gamboa, and then to when Davis beat him. You know what I'm saying? And then when Devin Haney beat Gamboa, it was really like, bro, come on, for real. So I'm like, this is not big enough, because if you lose, man, if you lose, that's terrible. Exactly, because there's a good chance. It don't matter who. Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis, Loma has the ability to beat all of them. Tefimo Lopez versus Lomachenko 2. Loma can beat, like, let's be 100. Let's be 100 about that fight. Like, it was a close fight. And like in reality, I'm like, Teofimo won that fight because he got started faster. Loma took way too long to get started. And a big part of that, in my opinion, is one, I'm like, with these older fighters, with their no fans, I think it takes a little bit longer for them to get warmed up. They need a little bit more rounds for them to get up into it. And then also, you know what I'm saying, we can't ignore the fact that this isn't an excuse, it's just reality. Loma went in there with a shoulder injury, had surgery right after. So I'm like, let's not act like Teofimo Lopez versus Loma 2 is just for sure in the bag for Teofimo. That's a hard fight for him. A second time against a dude like Loma who makes adjustments the way he does. Versus Devin Haney, that's a hard fight. Davis versus Loma, that's a hard fight. So and then I'm like, this is another person a lot of people don't talk about in the division right now either. Is Rolly. Rolly's calling out a whole bunch of guys. I'm like, that's another young gun that no one is talking about. No one's talking about Rolly. You know, he did have that controversial win where a lot of people thought he lost, but at the end of the day, man, he's right there with them young guys. You know what I'm saying? He has some very, very, very nasty knockout power. But his boxing skills aren't up to par to all these other guys that we were talking about. So that's just reality. Impressive, goddammit. But you know, the way it's looking like, man, the way the landscape is going, I think this year, if we're just talking about this 135 division, I don't see why we don't see all these guys fight. We're gonna see Tefimo, I think, versus George Kambosos in April or May. That's gonna happen, in my opinion. I don't think it's gonna be Devin Haney. You know what I'm saying? Devin Haney's gonna be fighting this year. I'm just interested to see who Eddie Hearn gets for him to match up with. You know, that's gonna be mad interesting. Cause I'm like, if you really think about it, like if you really think about it, like who? Let me do this. You know what I want to do? I'm gonna go to Google and let's type in. And real quick, let's just look at it. Hopefully this is updated. And I remember I looked at this before, but I just want to revisit it real quick. So I'm like, so we have Devin Haney, Tefimo, Gervonta, and then this still says the WBO is Vasily Lomachenko. And I believe that is right, because that's why Eddie Hearn was saying we're not going to spend $10 million to fight Tefimo because you're not even undisputed. But I don't know how it is. We got any fights coming up soon? I'm gonna get into that real quick. But let's just look at I want to look at the landscape of this real quick, and then we're gonna look at some fights coming up. So most likely we're gonna see Teofimo Lopez either versus Vasily Lomachenko 2 or versus George Kambosos. We're going to see Devin Haney. Yep, I'm telling you, we're going to see Devin Haney versus Javier Fortuna. That is the match that's probably going to end up being made for Devin Haney's next fight. Y'all see Robert Easter is out there lurking. And y'all see Rolando Romero. I don't know if y'all follow Rolando Romero, but check him out. He's a young gun at 135. He's coming up through the Mayweather promotions as well. So I'm like, I'll be interested to see who he can get next year. But I won't be surprised if we see Ryan Garcia versus Linares next. I think that would be the fight to make there. And then Gervonta is really the only guy that's like the odd man out. Like, I don't know who. Like, seeing all these, like I said, there's never any type of rumors that's put out who Gervonta fights next. Like, I've heard rumors of Devin Haney versus Fortuna, Tefimo versus, George Kambosos, or versus Lomachenko. You know what I'm saying? Ryan Garcia, I've seen rumors of Jorge Linares. He's actually called him out himself. So Davis is the only person, when I'm looking at this, I'm like, I don't know who he would fight where people would have any interest in. You know what I'm saying? Or we would give him those props. You know what I'm saying? Lopez versus Kambosos, people are going to give him the props for that. Devin Haney versus Fortuna, people should give him the props for that. Fortuna's no joke. Garcia versus Linares, people will give Garcia the props for that. And then it's like Davis versus who? You know what I'm saying? Who out of these people, who would he fight where we would give him the props that's left over? It's like all the big names are left. Unless he fights Lomachenko, if they don't do the rematch with Lopez, it's like, you know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Haney's going to fight Fortuna. So, yeah, the odd man out I have to say is Gervonta, and it always is Gervonta. But for some reason, Gervonta is the guy that we put at the top of that division. He's the most skilled that everyone says. He's the most feared in that division. But it's like, man, he don't really fight nobody. All right, so real quick, I'm going to go up over here, man. Before I end this joint, let's go ahead and look at some fights that are going to be coming up from this year. I was talking about this earlier, too, unfortunately. Boxing is always super slow in the beginning of the year, right? Always mad slow. In my opinion, I think this is the first year where we went into and there's no major fight that's been announced for the year, and we're really looking forward to it. It's just everything is like speculation. Yeah, Gervonta versus Lomachenko, I think that would be the goddamn fight to make. That would for sure be the fight to make, but like I said, I think it's just too much of a risk where Tefimo already, beat him. So Keith Thurman is looking to come back, but as you can see, you know what I'm saying, for some reason, Oscar De La Hoya is still calling out Triple G. I promise you, I want to make a video on that. I don't understand why Oscar De La Hoya keeps calling out Triple G. Rates himself above Sarah Zameta. Shoot, man. Oscar De La Hoya must be on that stuff, man. But I'm like, if you see, I'm going through, there is no boxing announcements for any upcoming fights as of right now. There was one, I'm trying to get to it real quick, right here. This is the only thing I've seen. Virgil Ortiz versus Maurice Hooker in the works for March 27. And that's a good fight. That is a hell of a fight. I think Ortiz easily does put Hooker away, but that's a good fight right there. But I'm like, other than this, as of recent, there really hasn't been anything announced like that. Last one said Thurman won't come back. Why do you feel like Thurman won't come back? I think Keith Thurman's going to come back. I think Keith Thurman has a bright future. I'm like, you see AB's coming back. I'm like, if AB comes back to the 147 division, Thurman comes back to the 147 division. You see Garcia think about if Danny Garcia can continue to have a career, Keith Thurman can, and so can AB. So I'm like, for me, I would love to see, think about Keith Thurman versus Adrian Broner. Keith Thurman versus Danny Garcia too. Adrian Broner versus Danny Garcia. Keith Thurman versus Sean Porter too. Because Sean Porter, you talk all that mess, but you lost your first fight against Keith Thurman. I'd love to see that again. Sean Porter versus Adrian Broner too. I know when it's all the way in March, that usually means there's a good possibility that the fight won't happen. But you see, this is literally the closest thing I have to a report of one, a really good or a fight to look forward to happening, and an actual date. Like everything else, think about it. All the fighters we look forward to watching, they all fought last year because of COVID. And because, boxing need to make money. So I think we're going to have a real bad dead period in boxing in the beginning of this year, unfortunately, because all of the big name fighters or the fighters we went to see, they fought toward that tail end of, the second half of last year simply because of COVID. So unless they, get on the high horse and they want to turn around and get back into it quick, think about it. Teofimo Lopez fought in November, October, and he's talking about coming back in April or May. So we probably won't really start seeing it or hearing anything about some really good fights until the second part of the year. Last one, you said you haven't heard anything from Broner. Yeah, check out. I did a live stream yesterday about AB's comeback. AB's coming back, man. He's scheduled to fight in February. He's fighting against Pedro Campa. So and it hasn't been announced yet if whether he's going to be fighting at 147 or 140. It's looking like there's a possibility he might be 140 because Pedro Campa is a 140er. But yeah, he's coming back, so he's supposed to be fighting February versus Pedro. So supposedly, he's with a new trainer now. He has a new trainer. He recently said himself he's changed his life around. He stopped drinking. He said he would wake up in the morning, he would just take a swig of fifth and just get faded throughout the day. He said he's down like 40 pounds or something like that. So as of right now, Adrian Broner is supposed to be coming back in this February versus Pedro Campa. It's either Pedro Campa or Pedro Campa. I think it's Campa though. At either 140 or 147. That's what's talked about right now. So hey man, we gonna us boxing fans, man, we gonna have to be creative this year because I'm telling you, man, I think as great of a year towards the latter of 2020 we had, and that was simply because of COVID, because they had no choice but to put these big name guys against each other or have them fight during this time because they're like, we don't have no gate coming in. It might be a little bit slow for the first half of this year because it is what it is. All right, last one, man. Appreciate you coming in, man. I'm gonna get up out of here myself too. I went a little bit longer than I thought, but salute to you, man. Salute to the family. I will be back sometime this week chopping it up. Appreciate everyone who was up in here, man. If you ain't hit that subscribe button, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, man. I know I am. But I'm up out of here. That's episode 2. Fluence Boxing, baby.